Hey guys, welcome back. So in today's video I'm going to share with you my recipe for Italian grilled chicken, tomato and rosemary focaccia, and it is absolutely delicious. I've got everything ready to go, and hopefully you can hear me well because I've got a new setup and I've got a new microphone, so hopefully it works out well. If not, I'm going to resort back to the old setup. So yeah, you guys, I've got everything ready to go here, and it's a two-step process, meaning well, actually a three-step process including cooking. So I'm going to make the dough, and then we're going to make the chicken, and then it's going to come together to make a lovely focaccia. So let's go over everything you're going to need, and I'll walk you through everything and how to assemble it. So let's get started. Alright guys, this is absolutely everything you're going to need. For the dough, you're going to need some flour. I've got 4 cups of flour in here. It's ready to go. Plus you're going to need more for, dusting the counter and rolling it out. I've got some lukewarm water here, about a cup. I've got some sugar, just regular granulated sugar. You can use honey if you prefer. I've got some yeast, some salt. Now this is pink Himalayan sea salt, or pink Himalayan salt I should say. You're going to need about a teaspoon of that. I like using this because I think it gives it a little bit more milder flavor than being too salty. So that's what I'm going to use. I've got some olive oil here, about a quarter of a cup. For the topping, what you're going to need is 2 breasts, chicken breasts, about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, minced garlic. I'm just going to use the bottled kind because I'm out of fresh. A tomato, salt and pepper, some rosemary. If you don't have fresh, you can do dried. That's perfectly fine. And you're going to need some olive oil. So we're going to start off by marinating the chicken. And while that's marinating, we're going to work on the dough. And while the dough is rising, we can cook the chicken on the grill or in a pan, whatever is easier for you, and let that rest while we finish up the dough and put everything together, and it's going to be absolutely fabulous. So let's get started on that. Alright guys, I've gone ahead and put my chicken in a little Ziploc bag. If you're not comfortable using a Ziploc bag, you can certainly use a glass bowl. But I'm going to use a bag because I want to release out all of the air and get the seasoning and marinade as close to the chicken as possible. So you're going to need about a quarter of a cup of olive oil. I'm using extra virgin, but you can use just regular olive oil. So I've got that in there. I'm going to go ahead and add in my Italian seasoning. About a teaspoon of garlic, and you're going to season this with a little bit of salt and some pepper, and that is it. Now all I'm going to do is seal this up, release as much of the air as possible. Always fighting with Ziploc bags. And then you're just going to massage this into the chicken as best as you can. Get that all mixed up. And then you're just going to set this aside and let this marinate for 30 minutes up to 4 to 6 hours, depending on how much time you have. I'm just going to let this marinate for 30 minutes. That's enough time to get my dough going. Okay, so before we get our dough started, I am just going to add in my yeast and my sugar into my water. About 2 teaspoons or so. And then I'm just going to give that a mix. and get that going. Make sure that sugar is dissolved. And then I'm just going to let this sit and hang out for about 10 minutes so the yeast gets all nice and puffy and activated. Alright guys, my yeast has activated and it's ready to go. What we're going to do now is we're just going to add a teaspoon of salt into our flour. And we're just going to set this down and get this going just to mix it. Make sure this is well mixed. Now you don't want to add the salt and the yeast together because the salts will kill the yeast and we don't want that. We want the dough to rise and be beautiful. So what we're going to do now is turn this on low. We're going to add in the olive oil and the yeast mixture, and then we're just going to let this run until the dough comes together and it pulls from the sides. Alright guys, so my dough is done and it's still very, well, it's slightly sticky, and that's what I want. I don't want it to be too dry. So I'm just going to remove this. I've got a oiled bowl here. I've just got it oiled with some olive oil, and I'm just going to add in my dough. Okay, so I've got this in here and I'm just going to toss this around and get it all coated, and then I'm just going to cover this up with some plastic wrap, and then I'm going to let it rise for about an hour. Okay guys, so it's been an hour and I took the dough out and I just punched it down, put it on a floured surface and rolled it out. All I'm going to do now is just put it in a sheet tray. I've got a little bit of flour here. I'm just going to try to move this to my pan without getting flour all over me. And then all I'm going to do is just form this to fit my pan. Like so. I'm going to tuck the edges under. I've already got my oven preheating to 400 degrees. And while that is going, I'm just going to cover this up and let this rest for another 15 minutes. Just so the dough gets nice and relaxed and starts to rise again. In the meantime, I'm going to clean everything up. Alright guys, so my dough has risen. It's been about 30 minutes. It's nice and puffy. While the dough was rising, I went ahead and grilled up my chicken. Just about 3 or 4 minutes on each side. And then I just kind of thinly sliced it, about 1/4 of an inch thick. I went ahead and thinly sliced my tomatoes and pulled all the leaves off of the rosemary. I got about 1/4 of a cup of olive oil here, and it's just got about a tablespoon of garlic in there. So I am going to go ahead and brush this all over the dough. You can certainly add more oil if you need to, but I want to get a good majority of the garlic onto the bottom of the pizza dough, or the focaccia dough. I'm just going to add that, get that all mixed and brushed on. Alright, so I've got all of the focaccia dough really well oiled. Now all I'm going to do is just sprinkle on the rosemary. And this is going to perfume the dough, and it's going to taste so good. Okay. Now you can go ahead and add your tomatoes and your chicken. I just want to, rustically put this on. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I'm pretty sure you don't have to add all of the chicken if you don't want to, but you can certainly add it all. And then just layer on some of the tomato. And it certainly doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Now all you're going to do is pop this in a 400-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes until it's nice and golden brown and it's cooked all the way through. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and remember, you can find all of my recipes on my blog. I will leave it linked in the description box below. You can just go there and type in whatever recipe you're looking for in the search bar, and it just pulls it right up and you can print it out. So I'm going to go enjoy this dinner, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.